Hello library friends, welcome to Paper Cuts. Today we're going to be making baskets. I've got a little tiny basket, I've got a bigger basket, and you are going to need some glue for today, some scissors, you will also need a ruler. I've got one that has centimeters and inches. You're going to need a pencil and 2 pieces of paper. I've got standard origami paper here. First thing we need to do is make 9 squares. So we're going to divide our paper into 3 parts. My paper is 15 centimeters across, so I'm going to make a mark at the 5 and the 10 centimeter at the top of my paper, and then I'm going to go down and do the same at the bottom. And I'm going to use these 2 marks to draw a line that is going to help me divide my paper into 9 different squares that are going to be hopefully the same size. So we're going to mark at 5, we're going to mark at 10. Now I'm going to do the same thing to both sides. Now using those marks I've made, I'm going to create lines across the paper, so I'm just going to line up using both of my dots on all sides. So I'm going to make 4 lines total, and that's going to give me my 9 equal squares. Now it is time to begin cutting. We are going to separate the outer squares. So I'm just going to cut through to the middle line there. So we have all 3 of the squares on the edge loose from each other, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, leaving the inner squares intact. Right, for that middle square, we're going to fold the paper in half, but I'm only going to crease that middle edge square because we're going to turn it into a triangle, and that crease I'm doing is going to tell me where the middle of that square is, so I can know that should be the tip of my triangle. It's a lot easier than measuring it out, and I'm just going to eyeball this and cut a triangle out of that middle square. I'm going to try to make it pretty wide at the base because you're going to need it to cover this side of your basket, so don't cut it too narrow. We're going to do the same thing for the other side. Now we are going to cut the outer squares into 3 strips. So I'm going to measure out really quickly about the width I want these to be. I'm going to do this on all 4 of the outer squares that I have made here. I'm just going to make one little dot, and I'm going to use that as a loose guide for cutting them into 3 equal strips. You don't have to do that. If you want to eyeball it, you can. I did not have a lot of luck just trying to cut even strips without measuring, so I measured. Now I'm going to cut each of these squares into 3 strips, just going to that line that marks the middle row of squares and not going through it. And now it's time to start gluing, so I'm going to put glue on the innermost strip I've created, and I'm going to glue these first strips into a triangle. So just stick them together like this. See that? They line up. And next we're going to stick the others on. Now when you do this, you want to be careful that you're not gluing them in too tightly, too loosely. If you want a nicely shaped basket, watch how all the paper lines up. See how it's doing there? It's got a little bit of a pooch right there. but it looks pretty good. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and we are just going to glue all of our strips together and make the sides of our basket. And the top ones, you're going to just bring them kind of straight across and not angle them up like the others. So that's going to form the top of your basket. Now we just need to do this to the other side as well. See, I'm trying to get it to all lay flat there so it doesn't have any gaps, so we've got a really nice looking basket. You may notice we have got a triangle shaped hole, and then we have a little triangle here, so I'm going to add glue to our triangle. Just as much glue as I can get, and then I'm going to close up the gap with our little triangle flap here. Again, you're just trying to make a nice smooth connection, and now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And that's our basket basically finished, but I am going to add one last touch with a handle. So I'm just going to cut a strip out of this darker purple here, and then I'm just going to glue it on, and that is going to be the final basket. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Paper Cuts, and I will see you guys next week with a new origami model for us to try.